We
Hello.
are live. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Talk, or maybe it's new for you.
Right. If this is your first time ever coming to Real Talk, welcome. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yes.
Well, we are going to kick off Real Talk with something a little bit different. So if you remember us, we took a summer break and we're gonna talk about that a little later in the show. But one thing we want to add this year is to talk about what's trending and connect it to what's happening in leadership and what's happening in food. And this could be some viral clips, it can be shows, movies, memes, anything across the internet that's kind of going viral that you might have heard about that adds a little fun to leadership and to culture. And so today I'm kicking off this with the Netflix show Building the Band. And I'm curious, we have chat. Please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're listening from. But I want to hear if you've ever heard of the show called Building the Band on Netflix.
You know me, Tia. I don't have Netflix, so the only way I've heard of it is you've talked a little bit about it, but I've never watched it.
Well,
So I love this part too because it's new for me. Going, oh, where are we going with this?
yeah, and like what should I watch, right? Like I feel like this section will also have me like, ooh, I need to watch that, right? Or I need to dig into this. But this show intrigued me because I grew up in the era, right? Like if you're a millennial, I would say probably mid, maybe even older millennials, grew up during this time when boy bands and girl groups were the hype. Like I had the NSYNC, I had the Backstreet Boys, I had the Boys to Men, I had the Blackstreet, I had all of these amazing bands out there. And as a matter of fact, reality TV show happened, and they started the show making the band. So even like O Town and people might remember Danity Kane. They all were created on a reality TV show, and that's kind of what intrigued me about the show. And so I started watching, and it started to be my little guilty pleasure.
So the Netflix show Building the Band is all about kind of the reality part of like actually building a band in the background.
Yes, and the people who are the singers actually choose their bandmates without even seeing them. They just hear their voices and say, "Ooh, I want to be in a band with that person."
Ooh, it's like the
Isn't that
swipe
interesting?
left or swipe right, whatever
Yes,
it is.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so that's interesting within itself. So they built these bands. There's like six bands. And there's one band, a girl band, there's three girls in it, that is literally living in this toxic environment.
Hmm.
There's one team member that is not playing nice with the other girls, not, don't want to wear the same type of clothing, think that they should practice this way, just very aggressive and feels like a toxic environment for the other two ladies that's in the group. And then you see all this background drama, right? And then they get up on stage, and I'm telling you, this is probably the most like talented group of people I've ever seen on reality show ever from a voice standpoint. But on stage, these three girls do not perform well together. They're getting feedback from the judges on, there's no consistency. You three are not gelling as a band. And we know all this toxic stuff is happening behind the scenes,
But the judges don't know any of that.
but the judges don't know.
Okay, so just the viewers have seen these clips of like whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it shows in their outcomes. And it made me think about culture and leadership, right?
Yeah.
Where you can have very strong people on your team individually, but if they're in a culture that's toxic or doesn't allow for them to thrive, their outcomes ends up being less than desirable.
Oh yeah, and just think like thinking about teams or people on teams where it's like there's conflict happening, but the boss has no idea,
Right.
or they seem to have no idea, but
Yes.
yet they sense something is
They
happening.
sense something, right? And even when I think even deeper on like metrics, we have conversation about metrics all the time around culture. Well, the metrics for this group is, the judge's feedback, right? Like you said, the leader, something's not quite going on, not sure why this group is not working well together. And then their outcome, if the group is going to stay or not. But how do they talk to each other? Do they talk to each other with respect? Are all ideas valued? Some of those things, right, which was not happening with this group. That's not traditionally a part of our metrics, so we miss it.
Right, because that we just figure that's not important.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's a hard number, hard data, something we can sync into another software system. Like this is something we actually just have to take time to actually observe.
Mm-hmm. We have to take time to observe and time to coach, right? And shift how people work together. And I just think about if those ladies had the skills to, number one, speak up, right? There's two ladies that's not really speaking up on how they feel about the situation. If they had the tools to be able to speak up, if they were empowered enough to, right? But even if the girl that wants to lead, if she actually had the tools to empower people, inspire them, right, move them in a direction that she thinks that they should go in, how much more successful that group would have been.
So it sounds like if you have Netflix, this is something that like I'm gathering that you're like recommending people watch it because you're going to see, well, one, good music,
very
kind of an entertaining show, but then all these threads that we're probably all going to be like, oh, that feels similar.
Oh, yes. And you see the other groups that are gelling so well, and you think like, wow, have they spent more time together than the other groups? But they haven't. So just switching, if you do watch the show or if you're thinking about watching the show, right? I love it. I love music. For people who know me, I love music, love to sing, love to play instruments. So it's right up my alley. But I think that this also highlights that as you are engaging in shows, right? A lot of fall shows are coming back this fall. So I'm sure shows will make this what's trending list quite a bit. But as you go through these shows, like there's almost always a culture or leadership lesson in it. And I feel like here at Real Talk, a part of what we do is take those everyday, somewhat mundane moments that we run into and help you really think about what does that mean as a leader? What does that mean for you, for the people that you're around, how you want to show up? We talk a lot about just values in action, right? Like how are you showing up? And that work happens in your day-to-day, right? It happens when you're having random conversations on the floor, or when you need to talk to a supplier about an issue, or you're looking to sell a new product, whatever it happens to be, your values do show up, right? And you have to think about that and be mindful and be more intentional about that.
Yeah. So this whole, it's building the band. That's what it's called?
Yes, building the band.
Building the band. Okay, so if you've got Netflix, put that on the list. But I would say if you also are like, ooh, here's another show or a book or a video clip or an image that you've seen lately that you're like, this is super funny, shoot it our way.
Yes.
We would love to see what that is and bring it onto the show to kind of break it down and use it to help us all really think about another aspect of perhaps leadership or even just being a human.
Yes. Being a human, right? When we learn how to work well with other humans, that shows up in our leadership because that's exactly what we're doing, right? Just working with
better humans. Yes.
So we hope you like this topic on what's trending. We're gonna do it each week, just to talk about, like Jill said, how do we connect these things with the things that we're doing, and how do we become more human in the things that we're doing?
Yeah, and as we get savvier with our tech, like we'll even bring in the clips so you can see it. Join us live. So then we can all have, like a good chuckle, or, maybe we're going to sit back and be like, whoa,
right.
We can do that all together.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, everyone, that's a fun way to kick off, and really welcome again to Real Talk by Catalyst Food Leaders. This is where we have honest conversations to lead people forward in food, because we all have things we want to do. We have goals. We have places we want to go. We have to be willing to lean into these conversations in new ways so that we can do that. I'm Jill, and this is Tia.
Hello.
We're the co-founders of Catalyst Food Leaders. And today, our episode is called Why Real Talk Still Matters. Mm-hmm. We started this show a while ago, and I'm thinking it's been 2-3 years
Yeah.
ago, because we think leadership in food deserves more than just checkbox answers. If I can talk this morning, that'll be helpful. But, as we go into this next season of Real Talk, we're really kind of doubling down, because we want to talk more about what's changed in leadership, and, even dive into why these conversations, like building the band, matter more now than ever. And how we want to show up moving forward as leaders is really the catalyst. God put it in there. That's going to help us get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're 100% right. And yeah, we're talking today about why Real Talk still matters, right? And we want to talk a little bit about, like, we took the summer off, right? We had our last episode probably back in April, May. Kicked off our summer. Summer has been busy, right? And there have been some work, though, over the summer that we've been doing.
There has been. And, we took a break because, as we talked about, right, we've been doing Real Talk nearly every Wednesday live for, I believe it's 3 years now.
Yeah.
And while it's shifted in a little bit, and we've had more guests than other times, and sometimes it's been a little bit more framed for what we were going to do than other times, honestly, Tia knows this. I was a little burnt out on it.
Yeah.
Even though we have this live stream, it's kind of Tia and I here in this space, and then we love when people see comments, but it's Tia and I chatting with each other and looking for you all to kind of, jump in and join us, which is awesome. But it also, just, we had a lot happening, and I was kind of like, what do people need right now? What do we need right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I love it when we decided to do this. And again, just like the example on building the band, like, this is our real lives, right? Like, this is us and our work time. And for us to take this moment to think about, okay, do we need to shift, right? How do we need to look at things differently? Is this valuable to us? Is it valuable to Catalyst? Is it valuable to you all? That's really important. And it's important as leaders to think about doing that at a frequency. Right. Summer makes total sense, right? To kind of think about, okay, how do you want to look at things come next year, when we think about, like, even the academic year. But you get resets all the time, whether it's a Monday, whether it's the 15th, whether it's whatever it is, you get these resets, and making sure that you take full advantage of them.
Yeah. And I think also when you need them, because like I said, I was a little burnt out on doing the show all the time. Tia, you know this and laughed. I'm like, who's out there? And you're like, people tell us, and you do. Thank you. For those that come up to us when we're in person, or you send us emails and say, oh gosh, this resonated. Thank you.
Yes, we love those.
Because I have a little bit of that whole, like, I don't see anybody. So then I'm like, does this make a difference for people? So hearing from you directly that the topics make a difference, like our Real Talk conversation is something you look forward to, like, that means the world to me.
Yes,
it does. And, having that break and having Tia, remind me that those do come in, really helped us think about how to come back here together and create a space where we can do more, and even more than we did before.
Yeah. And one thing I love about this break is that we have grown. Like you said, we've done this for 3 years. Like, as an organization, we have grown, we shifted, we've moved, right into different spaces. And we'll continue to do that just as a young brand. And so this just allowed us to really think about, where is our brand going in the next year? How do we help support organizations as they move forward? Right. And then what's really important when it comes to leadership, when it comes to culture within food, because in reality, we don't talk about it enough.
No. And it's funny you bring up the brand, because when we started, it was Real Talk Food Safety. That was the actual name of the show, because we were in this space, since that's, a majority of my background is food safety. That's where we had started. So, it's funny to think like that's where we started, but because we've had so many people not in food safety, like in our circles
Mhm.
and in our programs, we really needed to capture that in our brand to reflect who we are and where we're going as a brand.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was important, right? That was important to you all listening to us. And it was important to the people that we want to reach.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Tia, I know because we're just coming back and we're using a little bit different system. Did you just get a message that talked about like, are we live?
I am. I see us live. I actually have our live video up. If you're watching
Okay.
us
I
from
just got
our
a little
website,
message. So I just want to make sure like we think we're live. So if you're out there, like just send a little, yep, you are, so that we know you
yes,
see us. Yeah.
yes, please do, because we can see your comments.
Mhm.
And I might be having some internet issues, so if you see some jumping around, there also might be some internet stuff. We're making it work on a Monday morning, right?
Yeah. And, and it's so funny because, as we talk about even our reset, like summer, right? Like that's when we don't have school. And so my summer schedule looks really different than it does other times of the year. And Tia, how
Yeah.
many times have I been like, I had to let everybody in the house know to be off the internet. I needed the entire bandwidth.
Yes.
With
Yes.
two teenagers that, they don't watch TV. They're like YouTube TV and streaming and doom scrolling
Oh
all
yeah.
the time and on multiple devices at the same time. So
Yeah. Your internet
as a
has
mom
been
and as a leader, I had to set some expectations and communicate those pretty clearly.
There you go. Your children will definitely challenge your leadership.
They do. They do. But you know what? That just helps us grow.
That's right. That's right.
But
You know,
in all
Jill, I'm
reality,
also
that's why we wanted to come back for Real Talk,
yes.
because we know being in this space that, sometimes you hear the things, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would be that bleak about this, but I think as leaders, it so often gets deprioritized,
Yeah.
the importance of our soft skills and leadership, that really, I think you and I, we feel compelled to be here to say, come on, you can do it. Like
Yes.
you have the agency, be an advocate, see and believe it, and then see it when you practice how improving your leadership and soft skills helps your technical skills go further.
Mm-hmm. They truly do.
Phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. It is. And the impact is just so great. And if this is not your first time and you've been in our spaces, we talk all the time how you really can make the change you want to see today. You don't have to wait on other people. You don't have to wait on senior leadership. You don't have to wait on that function over there or this person over here. You really have the ability to move things forward. And here on Real Talk, we're here to help provide you with tools and tips and insights and stories to help you start making the change that you want to see. It doesn't mean that you don't need help, right? Like we're here to help. You have people around you that's here to help. But there are some things that you can start to do today to shift how you lead, to shift how you show up in spaces, which in turns shift the outcomes that you see.
Yeah. And right, just the other day we had been on a call with a president of an organization who said, I need your food safety consulting support. And we were like, tell us what's going on. And, as we learned more and dug into this story, what we learned is that, there's a lot of people in spaces that believe this organization has a phenomenal organizational culture, but yet they continued to see, gaps in their food safety systems, or, when stakes were high, steps got missed.
Yeah.
And it escalated all the way up to, right, the top leader who said, well, then we are going to put things in place to fix it.
Yeah.
Let's fix it. Technically, let's fix it. All right. And the more that we learned about it, the more we're like, you don't have a system or a process problem. You have a people problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have all the things in place that are needed when you have incidents that come up, or systems or processes. Yeah. But somewhere along the way, somebody didn't feel comfortable to step up, to own something, to speak out, we don't know, because we don't know those level of details yet. But
yeah,
that's the space where we're not seeing the food safety culture we want, even when people say, wow, they have a fantastic organizational culture.
Yeah. And it's because we're so used to solving technical problems, right? We're so used to stepping into this space. It's like, what's the saying? If you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah, right.
You know, like what everything looks like, it's a process that we need to fix. And I'm not saying that there's not gaps in processes, there probably are, right? But we forget this piece of people. And we are, you know, our backgrounds, what we've seen in industry, but also our coaching backgrounds allow us to kind of hone in on the, is this really a technical problem or is this a people problem? And from language, from conversation, right? Even from what they're seeing, you know, in this particular case, they had a robust process they had just updated, still didn't get the results that they wanted. So that just screams people. Because, you know, SOPs, they are fantastic and they look great on paper. They don't mean anything if people are not following them, if people are not doing them.
Or if people don't speak up and say, that's actually not how we do that.
Yes. How many times do you have a process and people are like, yeah, that's not the way it works, but they continue to pretend like they're using the process. They continue to write down, that's the process that we use, but we haven't actually connected with people to see what is the best for them.
Yeah. And I think that kind of exemplifies why Real Talk still matters.
Yeah.
That's not the only conversation we've had in the past few months while we haven't been live.
No.
We have this weekly with different organizations and different people in organizations who are wondering, like, why are things not working? And we, in the industry, we're really talking a lot about food safety culture, and we talk about leadership, and we have, you know, 1-day sessions or an hour, and we cheer about it and give away another t-shirt, which if you read my post this summer, it's one of my pet peeves, t-shirts and pizza parties.
Right. That solves everything, right?
Yeah, if it did, we all wouldn't be where we are today.
Right.
Right. I was just doing laundry for my husband and I was laughing because I'm like, how many company shirts do you have?
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic, but it just really kind of exemplifies me. Not that their company does that, but like, here's another t-shirt.
Right.
This is why Real Talk matters, because you know, we are humans, we are creatures of habit, whether it's a habit that moves us forward to where we want to be, or if it's a habit that keeps us where we want.
Yeah.
And I think on top of that, our brain even tricks us even to think I'm outside my comfort zone, even though I'm still really in my habit of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's really, really why Real Talk matters. Because if you want to shift, if you truly want to shift, we hear a lot of people say, I want to shift, but we don't.
Right.
If you truly do want to shift and be more, be better, like, you've got to move out of your comfort zone in a big way. And I'm going to say in a big way.
A big way. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
If you're only feeling a little bit mild, like, oh no, like, probably not going to have enough shift. You need to feel something that's more like, wow, this is something different.
And many times you can't do that unless you had an external partner.
Yeah.
There's many about
trainers, nutrition coaches, like medical professionals, like all these people that help us, right?
This reminds me of, I didn't expect to tell this story, but when I was looking for a new therapist, I remember my old one, I was telling a friend about this, and I was saying that I need to find a new therapist because I'm able to I'm almost able to like manipulate the conversation enough that I don't have to go deep enough. You know, like I'm able to say somewhat surface things. And I felt like she was like, oh, great progress. And I'm like, okay, Tia, I know myself a little bit more. And I'm the type of person that needs someone to push me outside of that comfort zone. I know that about myself. Right. And then if you don't have an external resource, right, you're able to do that with yourself a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, I stepped outside of my comfort zone. Like this blue, I changed it to a pink. That's outside of my comfort zone. But in reality, you need to stand up, get up, right, and leave where you are and literally put yourself in a new space. And we see it all the time with our clients where it's like, whoa, this is different. Whoa, I've never experienced this before. okay, I have some work to do as a leader or as a group, things that I did not even expect because we were able to push them out of their normal routine, out of their normal comfort zone, right out of their normal habits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and I think how it even starts at the beginning. Like Tia, tomorrow I'm heading over to the Meat Institute for their food safety conference, and we're talking a little bit about hiring, onboarding, a whole bunch of things. And it kind of reminds me of, as I was looking things up, people talk about, with onboarding, they want to be so welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And like welcoming is nice, but creating a space where people belong
Yes.
is more meaningful.
Yes.
And so when I think about like these shifts that we make, like, being more welcoming, it kind of is like the t-shirt thing, like having swag from your company, at somebody's desk or sending it to them in a box is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But do you follow that up with, let's have coffee and chat about like what lights you up and what you're passionate about? And, like, how do we do things different?
Right.
Because team members, I hate seeing these engagement scores that drop. They're dropping for the first time ever because people don't belong. They don't feel empowered. And we as leaders, that's us.
Yeah.
That is
absolutely.
us. So no matter how welcoming or nice we are, if our team members aren't feeling like they actually belong and can show up and be themselves and do their best work, like we failed them and we failed our company.
You're absolutely right. And do you do these check-ins more than just the first week that they're there? Right? What about 3 months after, 6 months, or a year, or 5 years, 10 years? That's really important. And when this is part of the conversations we've been having this summer, is just around, where did DEIB belong here at the organization, and why is this still important to us? And we know the organizations who are ensuring that people feel like they belong when they come to work are the ones that's going to see their culture improve, and sustain. Even through the conversations, one thing from our perspective, as we look at how do we just reimagine leadership and move people forward on leadership, when people start thinking about, how our teams are diverse and how we're including other people, those conversations are so important because they really are the foundation around culture, right? Yeah. You cannot have a thriving culture if people do not feel like they belong, or that they're even included in conversations and in processes and decisions. If they don't feel included, your culture is going to suffer. And we just talked about it earlier with building the band, then your outcomes are going to suffer.
And I think it doesn't matter whether your company has or doesn't have policies and statements around DEI. Like, this is something you as a leader, as a human, that it's your responsibility to do for the people that are around you. And I think, obviously there's been a lot of shifts and things that have happened here in the US. And those are things that we need to still consider. We still need to think about, we have goals, we have people to help us reach goals. How do we help people be their best selves to do that? And it starts with belonging. It does. Starts with, we quote Oprah a lot, right? Like, I see you, I hear you, you matter. And it seems so simple, but yet not easy.
Because it takes time, right? It takes time to make sure that people feel like they're included, that they feel like that they're seen and heard, and that they matter. You have to first know what that means to that person. And that's so much more than sitting down for a one-on-one and only talking about your goals, or only talking about things that are superficial, like how was the weekend? It's great to ask that question, but really understanding, I even like how you said about onboarding, like, what are their passions? Why are they here? What kind of impact do they want to make? And how do they see themselves making it? Those questions and that insight is so important as a leader, to make sure that they feel like that they belong in the space.
Yeah. And Tia, I love how you had talked a little bit about reimagine. That's been a word that really has like woven through many of our conversations the past few months about reimagining.
Yes.
And in our industry, we know there's a heavy load. I hardly ever talk to someone who tells me they're not stressed or not feeling like they have a heavy load. They may not say I'm burnt out and overwhelmed, but their energy is not at a spot that would tell me otherwise sometimes.
Right. Yeah. It's like a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. And, that's also part of our responsibility as leaders to help reimagine. And even this summer, right, how many times have we talked about some of the new return to work policies?
Oh, yeah.
And this connection of what do team members need?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we do our best work and how do we do our best work?
Mm-hmm.
And as leaders, how do we lead from a place of curiosity, alignment, and empowerment versus fear and micromanaging?
Yes.
That's why real talk matters.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't matter if my team member's sitting right here next to me, which actually right now that would be my dog, Nina. Or if it's Tia and I, we're across the country, we're states away from each other. But either place, like if I'm intentional as a leader making connections, my team members can thrive. We can have a team that is phenomenal.
Yes. And we're not saying it's easy, right? It is so much easier to engage people that's right in front of you, right? To ask them a question.
If you're intentional.
If you're intentional.
Plenty of people who are in the same space and they're like, nothing going on.
That's so true.
I gotta bring that up.
That's true. I recently asked someone that went into work. Typically they work from home. Sometimes they're like in a hybrid schedule. And I asked them, well, how many team members did you connect with today? Zero.
I hear that all the time. They're like, yep, I'm required to be in 3 days a week. And I go in and I'm still just on like team meetings. Teams.
That's it.
I don't see anybody.
I'm in my office in a Teams meeting, right? Because no one's in the office at the same time or, insert.
Yeah. It's somebody's idea of how to drive connection and engagement without understanding, is it actually driving connection and engagement?
Right. Exactly. And you can drive connection and engagement virtually, right? Like if that's what works best for your team, there's ways of doing that. If you need some ideas, reach out to us. We're happy to talk about that because you can. And when people feel like they're in these spaces that works best for them, home and life and personal and all of these things, when they feel like that there's a true connection, right? Sort of overlap there. The outcomes show. I recently read an article, I think it was Gallup, and they were talking about how productivity, that when we work remotely, productivity actually stays the same or get better than if we're in the office. And that's just what the data says, right? Mm-hmm. And it's because people feel more comfortable in their own spaces, right? And they're more likely to be more productive when they are comfortable in those spaces versus if you are in a space where you're not comfortable, right? Like we've been in those spaces. Just think about even a personal example. Like I'm not going to be able to hike as fast if I'm really hot, right? And the sun is beating on me. If it's perfect weather and someone's there with my little water bottle and I can sip my water and all these things, everything is perfect, ideal conditions, you probably can hike a little bit faster. So it's one of those things that as we think about our team and productivity and how to connect and making sure that they feel like they belong in our spaces, you have to be intentional about that and ask the questions and set your team up for success.
Yeah. I think it also demonstrates this disconnect in policy KPIs and what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the connection, and I'm making some assumptions, but this is also based on reading reports like Gallup and some other things that have come out. Have I fact checked it? No, but part of the return to work is part of that myth of we're going to be more productive or we're going to be more connected or some of those things that fall in there. And so we kind of check the box like, yep, the policy says we're doing this. You can equate that to, pick something. It can be, percent efficiency or percent,
right.
Order fill, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't look at the layers below, you'll still miss or you'll still wonder what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because here, if the goal really is about productivity and perhaps connection and engagement to drive productivity, like you said, sometimes those are the things we need to check. Like how many times during the week do I feel connected to the people around me?
Mm-hmm.
Those are things people don't want to take time to measure or understand
Right.
until they work with us. And we
Right.
talk culture and how do you make KPIs that are more meaningful.
Right. Exactly.
But these are the things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not about like our engagement score or our survey score or, pick something, even pulse surveys are cool, but it's still just a little number. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how many times are people feeling this, observing this, noticing this, hearing this?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the type of things that matter when it comes to being a leader and driving culture and driving outcomes.
Yes. You have to have those conversations behind the numbers, right? Like
Like,
those
why
are the
don't we? Like, why don't we? So many people just like gleam over that.
Yeah, and I'm curious. Hi, Jackie. I know you said hello. You're listening from YouTube. I'm curious from you all even watching. Like, what do you feel like prevents leaders from having these conversations? When we talk to leaders, a lot of times it's my workload, right? It's so heavy, and their leaders haven't actually made time to have these conversations. That's one of the things that we work on with our leaders is how do you rebalance your time so that the most important things happening. And one of the most important things on your list is connecting with your team. That is one of the most important things that you can do.
Yeah, like I look for that in job descriptions to be like number one.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. And often I see it like 12 items down, 30 items down the list of like, oh, hey, that one line item of you're going to manage and, inspire a team of people.
Right. Exactly. That's so funny. The 30th item. I mean, literally it's the last.
Seriously, like I have one that I looked at the other day. It was number 36, the 36th item under responsibilities. And that was in a job posting, not even like somebody writing out the things that they do.
Right. And that is someone who's going to manage people.
Mm-hmm. And the company's already told me all 35 other items are more important than that one item.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why real talk matters, right? Because right now we're in this environment where they're going to hire a leader, right? And a leader is going to step into the space and they're going to try to do those 36, 37, 40 items on the list. They're going to neglect their people, right? Unintentionally, most likely, because there's literally 37 other things, right? 36 other things before listed. And then the organization is going to wonder, why is the team not moving forward, right? Why do we not see this team being successful or moving as quickly as we thought they would? Or unless the leader has the skills, right? If the leader has the skill, they know, ooh, I need to switch these, right? I need to flip this list and pay attention to my people. But we know that's a real gap in the food industry.
It is. And I also just, want to put the caveat out there that like you hear us talk a lot about like what leaders should be doing. And I also want to say like as humans, as coaches, mm-hmm. Tia and I both, Tia, I don't want to speak for you, but this belief that people are whole, resourcely beings.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is still the core of like my belief when I think about leaders, even when I see that they're struggling to do some of these things. Like mm-hmm. they can do these things. They are good people with good intentions and have had a lot of success mm-hmm. to work to get them where they are. Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. Like never want to take away from that because we have so many amazing people in our circles.
We do.
But I also think about how many times people share with us, which is really all the time, that they want more.
Yeah.
And for us to get to what that more is, we do have to tap into that next level.
We do. We have to unlock it. It's one of the, if I had to like choose a word this summer that people have said to us, is empowerment, right? They want to empower their people. They want to empower their teams, empower their leaders, but in reality, they don't know how.
I say, we've been talking empowerment for like, I feel like years now. How is it that we are still on how do we empower people?
Yes.
And or have we just created so many environments where people have this like learned helplessness or learned I don't have authority environments?
Right. Yeah.
So like there's gaps in that. So it's not just how do I empower people, but how do I reset the foundation of some of these, I guess it's culture that's been in place for so long. Mm-hmm. I think of the classic, like if you have a problem, report it to your supervisor.
Right. Yes.
Okay. If I
Right.
don't see the problem, why can't I help fix it?
Right. Exactly.
Even my kids flagged this when they went, okay, honestly, through ServSafe, right? My kids did food prep in school last spring or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they told me, I didn't even ask them about, was they thought it was funny that when things would go wrong, most of the answers on the test were like, you were supposed to tell a supervisor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I mean,
Yes.
I do take their information back from them with a grain of salt because they are 16. I don't get all the
Yes.
information all the time. But for them to notice
Yeah.
that if I'm someone who's doing food prep and something goes wrong, I'm supposed to tell a supervisor first versus what can I do to help fix that problem?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that level, that line of thought
Mm-hmm.
has infiltrated so many spaces that like we
Yes.
have to start extracting that out.
Mhm.
Spots.
Yes. I mean, that is so true. And one of the reasons why I think we're in this spot of needing to figure out how to empower others is because really, and we talk about this in our empowerment workshop that we do with organizations, is how to transfer that power. We basically, when we say, if anything goes wrong, call a supervisor, they do not have the power, right? Like the supervisor has the power to make decisions. If we want to empower the people, say that this group, right, that runs into the problem, if we want to empower them, we have to give them back the power of making decisions. And that is very difficult to do when you feel like it's your responsibility, or you feel like you should be the person to make the decision, or, you know, right, insert the mental work that we've been doing to write down, right, call a supervisor and think we're the ones that should be solving it as the supervisor, when really it should be the people who are closest to the problem that's happening, who's identifying the problem.
And I'm going to say, you know, it's not just a kind of these like frontline leader areas.
That's
Like,
correct.
we
Yeah.
say the same thing that happens with senior managers, directors,
Mhm.
even VPs we've worked with, where they're looking for permission.
Yes.
That they're thinking, gosh, in my role, I think I have to ask someone about this.
Yes.
And last week I had a conversation with a leader and I was like, are you having a conversation with someone because you are seeking permission? Or are you having a conversation with them because you are just collaborating and looking for perspective?
Right. There's a difference.
We need to be really clear on what that is, because that actually is, you know, what's playing in your brain and your unconscious thoughts about your role in this organization.
Yes.
So if you are in a leadership role and you're thinking, I'm having this conversation to see if they agree and approve of my next steps, you know, that might be something to really pause and look at, because they hired you to do some of this work.
Yes.
But if you're just in this conversation to be like, this is where I'm going and I'm just looking for perspective, or, you know, blind spots that I maybe haven't captured, that's a completely different intent on the conversation.
Yes.
And one of them empowers you and puts you in your power. The other one takes you away from being in your power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what we mean by reimagining how we show up as leaders, right?
Thank you for bringing that all around. That was
yes, because right, just that shift, just that shift on your purpose, on why you're showing up, why you're even having this conversation. And if you feel like, man, I'm just really here to ask for permission, you don't need permission. Like you said, they've already hired you to make these decisions and to move forward, right? And start putting together solutions, right? To drive outcomes. They've already hired you for that.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So our purpose with Real Talk is to really help you reimagine leadership.
Yes, yes.
That's why we're back, and it's new.
Mm-hmm. And we're so excited about the conversations because, you know, outside of Real Talk, we do a lot of great work with our clients. And for people that know us, know that we have a progressive leadership development programs that's crafted specifically for people in food. Mm-hmm. At whatever level you are, we have a program for you. Whatever level you're trying to get to, we have a program for you. And it's real, right? It's real, it's relatable, because we have worked in food for many decades. We really help you come up with practical solutions around your leadership. You know, I love the example, Jill, you brought up of the senior leader who's like, I think it's process. And we're like, it's people. And this is how you can solve those problems, right? And this is how you can become more introspective so you can solve those problems for your people and help other people solve their problems for themselves, right? Like that's what we do. That's what we help organizations do. And we have our leadership development programs, we're coaches, we have our workshops, we have enrichment, we have a leadership summit coming up.
Save the date, everyone. February 18th.
Yes.
2026 is the leadership summit.
Yes.
And it's going to be a full day this year, so block the whole day.
Yes, we're so excited about that. So you'll hear, of course, we'll bring those stories in to this time, because this is really time for you, time for that real talk around leadership, around culture, and what's happening in food. And we're so excited to share each week.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that really is different about what we do, I love when clients come to us because they're like, we need leadership, but from people in food. Mm-hmm. I always clap a little. I clap a lot, actually, because I am so glad that they recognize that matters.
Yes.
But I think the other thing that people love about what we do is, as coaches, we aren't here to advise you, guide you, mentor you, consult, and give you answers. That's not our role in these spaces.
No.
Our role is to help you lean into your own innate amazingness. Because a lot of times what we hear are people that are like, I've been thinking this, but I didn't want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't sure it was for me. And our goal is to be like, it is. We want to help you have that awareness, because when you do that, you create space for others to do that.
Yes.
Hence, people on your team, people around you. And the more we have those moments of creating space and not being as judgmental and having compassion for each other, that is when you see those companies that you're like, man, they seem to always have a good time, and they're always breaking records, and they're always doing those things. Hopefully, those are the ones that have these underlying ways of being that create space for people.
Yes. And we want you to have that too.
Yeah.
And we're here to help you and support you. Yes.
All right. Well, I know we could go on and on, but I also know that with Real Talk, we're going to have this other, part.
Cool segment.
Segment, where we get to ask questions. And so, Tia, I get to ask the question in this one.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Okay, the question, this will be in every episode. So after this, everybody will know what it is.
Right.
But what's one leadership belief that you've let go of, and why?
For me, one of the things that I struggled with in leadership is that I might have this vision on how things should look or flow or be, right? And I know I've talked about this just as a part of my leadership journey. And so I know I'm not alone in this, and I would love to hear from you if you're listening, if you've ever felt this way, and if in some ways that you've kind of stepped outside of it. But for me, I really struggled with, if I was going to create a SOP, like, this is the format, right? This is the way, you
Mandalorian,
right? There you go. This is the way, the only way, right? This is the way even leaders should show up, or how you should engage or inspire people. And I know that now I know, right, that is not true. And for me, my goal as a leader is really to set expectations around what is needed, what is required, and allow my people really to develop what it looks like, feel like, how it should be, because they're the ones that's going to be using it. They're the one that's going to be giving that feedback. And this is an awesome way for them to feel seen, heard, and know that they matter, is because they can actually develop a process. They can actually show up as their authentic self, not the way that I think that they should show up, and still be the best version of themselves and a better leader than what I can mold them into being. And so for me, that one belief of like, it needs to look a certain way, I had to let go and really allow people to step into their own power, really, their own confidence. It doesn't mean that I'm not here to help shape or provide insights or, all those other things you have to do as a leader. But when you really allow people to show up as themselves, the way that they want to show up, the outcome is just so much better. And that's one thing that I had to let go as a leader. And honestly, it's something that I still check in on myself. I'm like, am I speaking because this is helping to set expectations or, boundaries or whatever it is in the conversation? Or am I really just inputting Tia's like sprinkled dust on it when it really doesn't even need to be there?
Tia sprinkle dust. Everybody remember that. Tia sprinkle dust.
Let me sprinkle a little dust over here, a little dust over there. When it's not needed, right?
Yeah. It's so funny you talk about that because as I thought about that question, that's actually part of what came to mind. I think when I look back and started what I would say my leadership, which was more of the formal part of having multiple direct reports across different plants, the model that was in my head was the one that we see on TV, in movies that we traditionally have seen, even historically, which unfortunately was a lot more command control, white male running companies, need to look like this, carry ourselves like this, whatever. Yeah. And women too, right? Not just men, women too. And that was hard on me, on my confidence, because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Right?
Like that probably tells you it all. Where I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder if I could ever be a good leader.
Mm.
And so letting go of the same thing, like this is what a leader should look like. So powerful. Yes. And I have to check myself. I mean, I'm at an age where there are so many great leaders that are younger than me. And sometimes I'm like, oh, they're that role. Like, dang, they look young, or man, are they qualified? I have to stop and go like, leaders look in all different ways and show up in different ways. Like, lean into that.
Yes.
So,
that's good.
That's something I had to recognize, years ago, but also still check myself. Even as I'm packing for tomorrow, I'm like, I should be wearing this and all that. And I'm like, oh, Jill, just wear something that feels good to you.
Yes. Yes.
Show up as the version of you that's going to be the best for everybody else.
Yes. Yes.
So even in a moment that seems perhaps a little bit trivial, I still have a moment where I need to check and go, what are you doing here, Jill?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is so powerful. Right. Because we see people, we're like, ooh, I want a little bit of that. But we don't take the next step of how do I take a little bit of that and make it mine? And make it who I am. Because you don't have to show up the same way. Even if you're like, ooh, I want that spunkiness. Okay, well, how do I do that as myself?
Yeah. And I think we also forget how many people are looking at us being like, ooh, I want a little bit of a Tia Scott. I want a little of that Tia sprinkle dust. Ooh, I want a little bit of that.
Yes.
We discredit ourselves, which if you haven't seen my LinkedIn post today, it's about a hinsma. It's a yama niyama yogi term about nonviolence. And that's one of them. Like, stop discrediting ourselves and the value that we bring.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Ooh, that honestly might be a really good real talk topic. Like just how many times do we discredit ourselves? And it really stops us from being strong leaders.
Yeah. And even the storyline we make to discredit ourselves through somebody else's, we think, their eyes to keep us from moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we kind of shared with you what we've let go of, but I do have a question for the audience. It's really like, what's the one shift you're walking away with today after Real Talk? We want you to drop it in the comments, share it in your stories, DM us, whatever it is, but let's keep this type of Real Talk going.
Yes. And we love hearing from you all, what you're working on, right? What you're shifting, because that's when you're going to start noticing, right? Noticing the changes that are happening. When you say them out loud, when you speak them out loud to people, then you will start to notice what kind of shifts are happening.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, we are so excited that you all joined us for our Real Talk kickoff for today.
Yeah. Are we going to share our tool for people?
Yes.
All right, let me add it here. So,
Mhm.
if this episode got you thinking and you're like, what do I do next? Download this free tool. Scan the QR code. Culture change starts with leadership.
Yes.
It's also going to be in the show notes. So
Mhm.
have at it. Tell us what shifted after you used it. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and don't forget, subscribe to our
Yes.
show on YouTube and share this with a food leader you respect and follow us for more episodes.
We have changed our day. Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. You also notice that you're watching from a different spot. So make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel because that's where you're going to be able to see. And you can also see on our website at catalystfoodleaders.com. So,
Yes, we have an event calendar. So if you subscribe to our calendar, every Real Talk will block your calendar out at this time so that
yes.
you don't miss a show.
What an amazing tool too. That's an amazing tool. I love it. So use it. It's out on our website as well. And we can't wait to see you and start your week with you each week.
Yes. Well, that's today's Real Talk. If it sparks something for you, like we said, share it with someone else in food who's leading with heart, soul, and humanness. Talked about subscribing to Catalyst on YouTube. Tia, we're now in other places, aren't we?
We are. So our podcast, the audio will actually drop on podcasts that you can find on our website, but also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So please check us out. If you, I have to click off because I'm running to a meeting, just know the audio will be on podcasts and you can come and revisit what we talked about.
Yes. And remember, when leaders grow, cultures change. Next time.
Yes. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.